This is it, loading for Southwest Nationals. I'm going to walk you through a little bit of the load development I did before, what I'm doing when I'm loading here, and what it looks like when I get packed up. Let's take a look. This is it. I've got my loading stuff set up. I have my Ingenuity Precision, my amp press. I have a computer so I can look at the scale for the amp press. I do get a lot of questions about the amp because you don't see it in all my videos. And, well, that's because I don't use it all the time. This video brought to you by Bullet Central. But for big matches, I definitely use it for any number of reasons. One, it's going to give me, obviously, the feedback so that as I'm loading, and I'll show you how I do it here, that as I'm loading, that I can put anything that's weird in its own box. It also just takes pressure off my hands. I'm going to be loading about 450 rounds. That is a lot of moving the lever and a lot of twisting and turning. This way, I just throw it in here. It will start moving as I am getting the next powder charge. And because it is not doing anything that requires force on the bench, it doesn't affect my scale the way that an arbor press would. In fact, that's why I always have my arbor press on a separate bench, because just the pressure, in fact, I can tell you just looking at my scale, it says if I tear it out here, I can affect it. That was 6 grains, 10 grains, 12 grains. So I can definitely have a huge effect on this if I'm applying pressure to it, whereas the amp doesn't do that. So let's get to the load development first. I'm not going to show you everything. It's a lot of stuff that goes into it, but I will just start out by telling you that this is a barrel that was brand new in December. I put about 100... Whoops, wrong barrel. Yeah, no, this is it. So about 190 rounds on it in December. It was shooting great, and I took it off the gun, put it away, put the jug of powder away. In fact, you can see I've got it labeled here, which barrel it goes with, so that I knew that powder and that barrel gets put aside. I then I put another couple barrels on and just had some fun shooting in January, and then I had SHOT Show and a lot of stuff going on. I just put the barrel back on in like 5 days ago, something like that, and went and shot what you're about to see. So let's take a look at the targets that I did at 600, at 1,000, and where I'm going to be loading, and then we'll come on back. Here is the first test target that I did after putting that barrel back on. You can see I did some blow-off sighters here, so 5 rounds, and then I did a 4/10 of a grain test. So the first 5 are 57.1, then 57.2, 3, and 4. 57.4 is what I had in my notes as the best shooting load. So I've got purple at 57.1, and you can see this isn't bad. This is probably measures out just under 3, but basically 3 inches, and then this weird 9 down here, so that was fun. And then we have the 57.2, which is going to be yellow. So boom, 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 boom. Again, about a 4-inch group, maybe, it's probably under 4, but between 3 and 4. But pretty vertical. I don't like that. And then the next one is 57.3, which is this blue. And it's tall. You can see here, it's probably 4 inches or a little over 4. Not fantastic by any means, and it's pretty spread out. And I'm trying to find where... Oh, no, there's the last one down here. So it's definitely bigger. And then you can see 57.4 just went whoop, right where I figured it would. And the reason I went on the low side of this test was because it's going to be a little warmer in Phoenix. So I just wanted to make sure that I wasn't missing out on anything that was a little bit colder. Let's take a look at the testing I then did at 1,000 yards. So this was Tuesday on Thursday. This was my first test, and this was just some extra ammo or extra brass I had in a box, so I just went ahead and loaded it up at 57.4, which was what I assumed the good load should be. I don't like when it does this. It typically means that it wants to be a little hotter to come back together. Still not a bad group. I mean, it's still a half-minute group at 1,000, but this is definitely not what I want to see. So that was not a great start. This would be the next test, which was out of a different box of brass. And tuner setting 0 is where I had been doing all my shooting, so that's why it's labeled as T0, tuner 0. And you can see I bracketed the 57.4, so 3, 4, and 5, all pretty decent, a little under half a minute, 4-inch, and then 3.8. So these are all good. It left me feeling pretty confident with the 57.4, even though there's just a little bit of vertical right there. Oh, look at that. That's the range. They're doing a bunch of work, but still beautiful out. And you can see that's the 600-yard targets, but you have to be closer to shoot 600. It's weird. And then 1,000 is way up here. This was the last test. And what I did is, just for fun, I spun the tuner out 1 revolution, which is why it's T plus 50. So I did the test at 2 different tuner settings. And it's tough to see, but this one over here was, I think it was like 4-something inches. Then you have this one here, it's 3.29. Again, that's my 57.4. And then here, 3.25 inches. So both of these are really good. Obviously, this tuner setting liked this a little bit better, but what I'm looking for is consistency between the tuner settings there. So from one revolution to the next revolution, am I getting at least consistent modeling across these groups? And overall, I would say yes. So 57.4 is what I'm loading. That's all I can tell you. So let's go back to the shop. We'll finish up in there. So you saw my 600-yard testing. You saw the 1,000-yard testing. You saw the load that I picked. And I've been dropping the first box. So it's not quite 450, but it was basically 400 plus whatever was left over from my testing brass that I have here. So I'm just going to show you real quick. And it doesn't really matter what's all on the screen. I mean, it's the amp press showing you. And I'll take a quick screenshot for you, just so that you can get an idea of what you're looking at. And, you know, like, yeah, this brass is all over the place, and I'm okay with that, because I don't really care. It's not what it's about right now. This is sort of the leftover box. But even within that, you can see there that there is a consistent curve through the middle. And those are the ones that are good. So what's important to know is that as the press is working, now I used to do all the brass, and then I would go back through and I would pick out the weird ones and flip them upside down. Now what I do is I just flip them upside down when I see that I'll do probably the first 5 to 10 or so, and I see where the midline is. Like, I kind of know where it's going to be on this batch of brass, and then I'll go back and flip over any in the beginning that I missed. But going forward, if I see it's outside of that average, I'm just going to flip it over in the box. And then if it's something really weird, I'm going to put an X on it, and I'll really mark it up. And these other ones, I just put a single line through. And that's so that if for some reason they get mixed up for any reason on the line, when in my travels, whatever, at least I know that they were meant to be sighters, blow off, stuff like that. Now, they're going to shoot fine. Yes, they're outside the curves. I don't want to shoot them in my like, we'll call it final sighters or my record rounds. But if I'm on unlimited sighters in the first 2 or 3, yeah, I'm fine using these. One, they're going to help foul out the barrel. They're still going to give me a very good impact. It's just not going to be as consistent as the rest. And there's a very good chance that these will actually all get shot when I do my practice day on Tuesday, because I'm going to need some rounds for that too. So depending on what happens in the next boxes, I can always separate those. I will show you how I put these in the clam packs later, but the easy answer is all of the weird ones go together first, and then I just pile in the rest of the good ones. So that is all there is there. As far as what I've been using, yes, I've been using sorted and pointed bullets. So I've been using Eric Cortina's sorting system that he's got, and the pointing system made life easy. I did roughly 1,300 bullets or so. I don't know. It took me, like, I sat here for a day while I was doing other stuff and just ran them all through. And then you have to run them a couple times, obviously, but not that big a deal. So they're all pointed, ready to go. They are all sorted. I'll do my best here to show you. So they are all right here, and each bin has its own number. And I have been comfortable sorting anything that is in the, like when I shot nationals, in fact, when I won the mid-range, those bullets were all sorted by 5,000s. I've done 3,000s. I've done 1,000s. For me, it comes down to like what's easy. Right now, I'm playing with some different tools. I'm not going to lie. I did sort by 1,000s on this batch because I was testing a tool that needed to be done by the 1,000s. So I'm not heartbroken over it, but it is typically smaller than I would want. In a perfect world, I'm probably going to go 3,000s if I'm using something that's more automated. I think 3,000s is fine. But again, even up to 5,000s, I'm good with it. And where that's important is in my bullets that I am going with. So this is the first box. This is what I call box 31. And we go all the way up to box 40. If I am loading box 31 and then I run out of bullets and I am in the middle of one of my boxes of brass, I am okay just rolling right into 32 because they are so close that I'm probably not going to honestly see a difference on target. But at least for the sake of, mental well-being, they are all together as much as possible. So 31, then 32, 33. Most of my bullets fell into what I call 34 to 36. So I'm probably going to blow through 31, 32, and 33 pretty quickly. There was maybe 70 to 100 bullets in each of those. And then I'll probably end up in box 34 and I'll finish there. And then I've got plenty of bullets to keep going for other matches at this point. But suffice to say that I have bullets that are ready to go. Here at the house, if you've been on my website, in fact, if you go to my website, fclassjohn.com, you'll see an entire list of what I actually use to both shoot and load with. But at home here, I use my Short Action Customs Infinity die. I really like it. No issues. It's light. It's not light, which is why I like it here. It's heavy. It's got a heavy base to it. Makes it a little less likely that I'm going to knock something over because of shaking and whatnot. But for travel, honestly, I use a different die. So when I'm traveling, I do like something that's much lighter. And this die is about half the weight. And this is my F-Class Products, so die. And it's about half the weight. It's smaller. It travels a little easier. And for that purpose, I really like that. A buddy of mine made me this nice little travel case to put it in. So I can just throw this right in my luggage and I'm good to go. Everything's loaded long, which is why I need to take a die with me. So these are all loaded. These are loaded 10,000 long. For the next 400, I'm probably going to load 20,000 long just so I've got the length. I don't need it, but it's nice to have. And I like, when I'm seating at an away match, I like to have enough movement that it's doing something, if that makes sense. So if I loaded them just like 5,000s long, they're not really moving much. If I'm reseating at a match, I want it to act like I am seating the bullet. So the next batch, again, will be a little bit longer. These are most likely all going to be in my practice day, so a little bit less of criticality there, but I'll still seat them all when I get to Phoenix. But the next batch, I'm probably going to go out to 20,000s, maybe 25,000s, just so the bullets are moving a little bit more. So we're just going to finish up here. When I get done with all the next 400 or so, it's probably a little bit less because each box is missing a few pieces of brass, but we'll call it 400. After I do the next 400, I'll kind of do a wrap up and show you how they all get packed up. This is the next step, and I apologize. This is the best place I have to film right now. It is not ideal, but it will get the point across. I just have stuff spread out everywhere for traveling right now to get ready. So here is what happens. I have all of these are loaded up. You can see here, we talked about the fact that these are upside down. So I need to go through, I showed you on camera, but I just go through at the end and I just mark them all up. Okay. And this is just for my own peace of mind. And I have my Click It clams here. And we are going to label these. So this is box 6. And so what I do is I'm going to put a piece of tape on each one. So we're just going to go through here. Some of these still have, like that one's got box 4. I don't even know if we're going to use box 4 today, but I tend to leave a little bit of room in case I need to write something on it later. There are rare times at a match where something happens, something changes, whatever the case is, and I want to make a note, so I leave myself enough painter's tape. I used to write right on here with the Sharpie because alcohol will take it off. However, it is a lot of work, and I end up using a lot of these, and it was a nightmare coming home and having to try to clean them all off. So then I went to my trusty painter's tape, which I believe everybody knows how much I love. I use it like MacGyver uses duct tape. And that's the way it goes. So now that I have these, I'm going to label these. So what box was this? This is box 6. So I'm going to write 6. Okay, so we just put 6. And the other thing that I want to do as I load these is I'm going to give myself any information that's relevant. You know, are there good loads, bad loads? You know, even though these are marked, I'm still going to put a note here. So I always start with these ones, and I'm not going to bore you with loading up all of this stuff. But I'm going to load these up first. So this is just going to be the first pack with the bad ones in it. And I say bad, but, you know, it's all relative. But the ones that tested or seeded outside of the norm. So there's those. And I want to do that first. So that's 1 through 10. I always count from the left to the right. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put 1 through 10. And then I'm just going to write bad. And then I still label 11 through 20. And I use a check mark for good ones just because it's easier than writing good all the time. But that way, if I didn't write this, I wouldn't know what 11 through 20 was. And while I can probably assume that they are good, I want to make sure, especially on these, that I know 1 through 10 are bad and 11 through 20 are good. And I can look in here and I can see the Sharpie, but it's a lot easier when I'm unpacking and getting stuff ready for a match to be able to look at this right away and say, okay, this is the one that has my blow-offs or whatever else. So now I can come in here and I can just start loading it up. And I do this a little bit differently when I'm not in front of the camera because I'm at a weird angle, but I usually just sit here and I hold it vertically. So I will just hold this up in the air and I just push the rounds in. And so there is the first one. I kind of do it like this and just work my way down. And at the match, I used to shoot out of these boxes. And oftentimes what I would do is I would pull out all 20 rounds so they were loose. That way I wasn't fighting with them as I was getting ready to shoot. And it just got to be a little awkward. In fact, you'll see a number of these. And so let me stop real quick. So I will write 1 through 20 and a little check mark so I know they're good. I'm going to stop for a second. I'll show you. So I used to shoot out of those boxes. And now what I do is I got one of these from Eric, and they are available on his website. But they are light, they are portable, they fold up, they have a little tensioning system. And so now, I don't know how I got away without using one of these for as long as I did, but now I can put the rounds in and I'm good to go. I have my round count. It's easy for my scoring person to see that I've got all my ammo ready to go. It's good for me. I can easily move it around. It doesn't take up the room because I used to have to, I think this one's cut. So I used to do this and I would stack these next to my rifle, and you know, like especially if it's sandy or dusty, and bullets would fall out if I was going, you know, weird or something. Anyway, so this is what I've gone to now, and I just seriously don't know how I got by without it. I had always put off getting like one of those heavier, bigger aluminum ones for two reasons. One, travel, weight. But the other thing was mainly setting it up. So having one of the, like a bigger one, it takes up room in your bag on the line, and you know, it could get bent or damaged, stuff like that. Like this, at the end of the, you know, at the end of each match, you know, 3 matches a day, I can just throw it in my bag, fold it up, and I'm good to go. So I love having the little fold up design. And I also have a travel drawer in my bench. I've never really shown anybody. Here, let's go take a quick look. So I have a travel drawer over here. It is my bottom drawer. Whoops. And this is where all my travel stuff goes. So I've got some different bags. This is a pillowcase that my Neo X goes in. My spotting scope, because I don't really use it around here much. My little scoring pad, elbow pads, just random stuff that I've got. My PMA cleaning cradle, suntan lotion, like anything that I travel with goes in here. And so, excuse me, I will fish through this tomorrow as I start packing. So let's head on back for this for a second. Got a little off topic there. So there we go. So back to this, I'm going to go ahead and load all these up. And these are all box 6 so that I know that when I get home, all the brass from this goes back in box 6. Now, not everybody keeps them in boxes, and that's fine. You know, you might just have a bucket of 500 pieces of brass, and that's cool. You might label it differently. It's all good. Throughout this loading process today, too, there's some brass that I've been nursing a little bit, some with a little less tension, some weird things. And I went ahead and took this opportunity as I was loading all of it, since I was going through, you know, essentially 500 pieces of brass, and threw out a bunch. You know, there's no sense keeping bad brass. If something isn't looking right, feeling right, like it was to the point where some of them I could turn the bullet in there. And I know that it's not a process issue because all of the brass went through the same process. So if the brass goes through my process and it's not performing to that minimum standard, how is it possibly going to hold up on the firing line? So I don't know, it was whatever, 6, 7, 8 pieces of brass that I purged out there. And that's something I'm constantly doing. None of these boxes are full, okay? Like these are all empty, and that's because something weird happens to a piece of brass. It gets dented weird, the mouth gets hit. Like there's just things that happen. And so as a result, I'm constantly getting rid of brass because it's not worth it for me to have a bad piece of brass. So, okay, I'm going to get this all loaded up into the clam packs. I won't bore you with it. I will show you the last step, which is my new update to traveling because of excessive fees that are now being assessed by Alaska. I'm having to change how I fly a little bit. I will show you what all this ammo goes in as soon as I'm done. This is the last piece of it. I'm not going to go into a ton of detail other than to tell you I used to travel, if you've seen my other videos, with a larger Samsonite case, and I would typically pack it to about 80-something pounds because it had ammo, my Seb Neo in it, all kinds of stuff. And I would pay about $100 for that bag because it was, at least prior to about a year ago, or a little less than a year ago, Alaska only charged either the second bag, the overweight, or like one of the two. Now it's a stacking fee, and they've raised the fee. So it would be $150 for overweight, because my gun is 1. So my gun is first bag. It flies free because I have the Alaska card. It's a little under 50 pounds, so it just flies for free. Second bag is $70, and then overweight is $150. So that's $150 plus the $70, so $220. So I had to do something. So my goal is to get a second bag with ammo under 50 pounds, and I'm going to attempt to take the Neo onto carry-on, which it should be fine. There's nothing about it that makes it wrong to take on, other than I am going to remove the metal feet because they very clearly could be perceived as weapons, because they're very pointy and, you know, could be held and stuff. And then the two handles, so the raising handle and the joystick. So those items will go into either this bag or my rifle bag. It's one of the few things that I absolutely have to put into checked baggage rather. So checked baggage will also have my cleaning kit because I can't take those solvents onto the plane. So those will go in here. How do I do it? Well, this took a lot of work. I searched and searched for the lightest, basically clamshell I could find. I just need it to hold the ammo securely. I don't need it to do anything else. And this weighs about 6 pounds. Now, for this match, I'm only taking a little under 400 rounds. And 400 rounds, each one of these packs is a pound and a half. And I am taking, let's see, 1, 2, 3, so 20 of them, right? And because that would be 400 rounds, so 20 of them. So that would be 35 pounds of ammo that I'm taking. And, it adds up pretty quickly. And when I travel to Nationals, it's even more. So Nationals is around 42 pounds of ammo. So 42 pounds of ammo plus a 6-pound case plus 1 or 2 miscellaneous items puts me right at that 50-pound weight. Then I get first checked bag free, second one is 70, and hopefully my 2 carry-ons. Now there's every chance that, because it's total discretion to TSA, and there's every chance that somebody might look at my Neo X and say, well, that can't go through carry-on, in which case that's fine. All they're going to do is redirect me to put that into checked baggage, and I'll just pay the fee for the 3rd bag, which, sucks, but it is what it is. And it actually ends up cheaper because of their fees to do 2nd bag for 70, and then the next one I think is 100. So it's 170 for 2 bags rather than 1 overweight bag. It's kind of weird, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's still 150 for 3rd bag. Anyway, I'll have to look into it. But it's worth the risk for me this time to see what happens. The question has been asked before of TSA, like, does it qualify for carry-on? And yes, it does. But they always are quick to say it is up to the screening agent whether something is allowed to pass. I mean, there could be a teddy bear they don't like, and they could tell you that it can't go through. So how does this work? Well, this is going to, I played around with it, and okay, so we went 3 high over here. And I always try to put, no matter what, I try to put as much as I can in the zippered section because it's the most secure, and it's also the flattest. This is flat. This side you have to contend with the handlebars, the bars for the handle, which stick up in weird ways and make it really annoying. So we're going to have, so there's 15. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 3 deep, right? 1, 2, 3. So there's 15, and then this is the other 5 to make 20. I cannot fit, despite my best efforts, the last, couple in here. So that'll be for, call it, I don't know, maybe some socks. My cleaning kit may fit in there. It's going to be tight. I don't know. So we'll have to kind of see. I don't know for sure. It's possible I can rearrange. Okay, now I think I might be able to get my cleaning kit in there. Either way, this area is pretty much occupied, so we'll go ahead and zip her up. So that's going to be good to go. And the nice thing is, because it's zipped up and everything, it's going to stay pretty put. I do sometimes, depending on what I'm taking, I will put something flat. This won't move because there'll be something blocking it. But sometimes I put like just a little piece of cardboard or something just to keep these from angling out. So I'll probably do the same thing with that. Then over here it gets a little trickier because you're dealing with the bars under here, and it's a little padded, but they make for some awkward space, which I don't love. I can pretty much put this right down the middle. So it'll be something like this. And as this sits, this is going to be, I got plenty of weight to put anything else I need in here, whether it's clothes, my cleaning kit, stuff like that. It's only going to be for Nationals where we're going to get really tricky, but this will get all zipped up and good to go. And we should be right in there at just under 50 pounds, which, again, this gets expensive. I pay for all the airfare, everything. It's expensive flying to these matches, and I just, I try to conserve where I can. I don't have all the money in the world to be paying for 4 or 5 bags to go through, and it gets really expensive, especially when you're going both ways. And it brings up the other thing. Like, I do have friends that drive. I could probably find a way to get this in their car. I just don't. I've done it in the past, a while ago, and every once in a while I'll pay somebody to haul something. Like, I've had people haul barrels back or something. But, I figure I'm the competitor. It's on me to get the gear there. I either need to ship it or I need to fly it. I don't like putting friends in a position of carrying my gear. It's, it's stressful. You got, potential like police issues if they get pulled over for speeding or something, and then your gear's in the car. You've got, accidents, break-ins, all that kind of stuff. It's a lot of added stress for people who are taking your gear. So that's just how I look at it. But I'm really happy with this. I have my just under 400 rounds, which is more than enough for the match this week. And that's all we got. So with that, as I always say, get out there and shoot. We will talk soon. Have a good one.